Yeah, thank you very much, Angela, and it's a real pleasure to be here to kick off the 2022-2023 OEH seminar series. And as Angela just said, it is a special year for us. It is 30 years since the MSC OEH program started. And we are going to take some time over the next 8 months to celebrate that in a variety of ways, one of which, as Angela said, is going to be profiling some of our alumni who have graduated and have gone on to do great and exciting things over the last 30 years. Today, I'd like to take the opportunity to communicate with you all about where we are in our OEH divisional renewal process that we started about 2 years ago in the middle of the pandemic. And give you a sense of what has gone on, what we're currently doing, and where we're going to be going over the next couple of years. There's going to be a lot of opportunity to be involved in many of the activities that I'll be talking to you about in the next few minutes. And today is really the start of that broader conversation in terms of engaging our students, our alumni, and our stakeholder community in implementing some of these exciting changes. And I am joined today by some of my favorite colleagues, Karen Bartlett and Mika Kuhorn. They're all my favorite colleagues, but in this case, who are taking leadership on aspects of the renewal process, and they will be sharing some of those initiatives with me. Now, I will note that for the start of this seminar series, we are in a slightly different room than we usually are. So this is B104 for those of you who are online. And so it's not quite the setup that we typically have with our seminar. And so Mika and Karen will basically be talking from the audience when it comes to their section, but they are just under the microphone. So even if you can't necessarily see them really well, you'll certainly be able to hear them. So I want to start by just reminding us all of what the overview of the OEH Renewal Initiative was. And we embarked on this consultation that was embarked on in the beginning of 2021, where we went out and interviewed not only faculty, but external stakeholders to get a sense of what they thought the value of the teaching that was provided through the OEH vision was, where the strengths, the weaknesses were, but also where the opportunities were. And we also did an alumni survey at that time in 2021, and I will show you just a few highlights of that survey in a few moments. Following that, internally with faculty and staff, as well as student representatives, we engaged in a facilitated consultative process in terms of developing goals and priorities and strategies that we've also aligned not only with schools, strategic planning process, but also the Faculty of Medicines and the universities. So at this point in time, we are at a point where we're really moving forward in terms of some of the actions in terms of that we've identified from those priorities. And that's really what I'm here to share with you today. So the process planning, it's 3 years. We're now at the end of the sort of consultation and the thinking and this is what we should do. We're now moving into the action phase. And that's really exciting because there's going to be lots of opportunity to get involved. So as I said, alumni survey, faculty retreat, moving on to identification of development opportunities, and then implementation with ongoing stakeholder engagement. And that is actually something that is going to be very important over the next 18 months to 2 years as we roll this out. So just to remind us all, I have presented on the alumni survey before. But I think the findings are so compelling that it is worthwhile for us to be periodically reminded about what we found. So this was a survey that we did in the spring and the summer of 2021, where we engaged most of our alumni, and we actually had a pretty good response rate, well over 100. And we asked them, how well do they think the MSC OEH program prepared them for working professionally, as well as the importance of the various competencies. We also asked them what they wanted or what they really saw as important in terms of ongoing professional development. And those two things together, along with many of the other points of information that we've gathered, have played a crucial role in shaping how we move forward as a division regarding our training, teaching, and learning. And so I'll just remind people that our MSC OEH is focused on practice and discipline of occupational and environmental hygiene, and we are guided by a number of competencies. And so we asked our students, our alumni, how well, this is where I have to move, I can see the answers. How well do they think the current MSC OEH prepared them for their professional practice? And you can see we've bin these into various competency groupings. So recognition, I'm not going to go through every single one of these here. I'm thinking about the recognition of hazards, to recognize the influence of cultural and social factors in the practice of OEHS. And about 2/3 say that they felt they were prepared or well prepared in this way. We see other recognition of hazards in the area of occupational exposures and health outcomes, identifying hazards, the understanding of physical, chemical, and biological aspects of the generation of hazards. These were identified as almost all students, in some cases 100% or 98%, said that they were prepared or well prepared. So clearly identifying where, at least in the view of our alumni, the program has equipped people well. Moving on to evaluation, you can see that across 6 different evaluation competencies, 5 of them over 80, upwards of 90% alumni felt that they were well equipped in terms of the current program. One area where there is room for improvement is to measure and evaluate effectiveness of policies and programs. So that's more, how do we know whether things will work rather than the implementation. With respect to control, of the 3 there, we can see 2 students or alumni are seeing that they're very well equipped. So in terms of identifying and selecting the most appropriate control methods, 7% validate effectiveness, 90%, and 2/3 saying that in terms of designing and implementing policies and programs, they were well equipped. So some room for us to think about to improve there. Now, when we move to other types of competencies, we start to get us a little bit different of a story. And so under communications, 2 of the 3 competency strategies, students are feeling that, or alumni are feeling that they're well equipped. But 1 in terms of delivering and designing adult education programs, including employee health and safety training, only around 50% felt that they were well trained in that when they graduated. Under management, it's a little bit different story. 4 of the 5 management competencies were around 50% or less, whereas there was only 1 where it was around 2.75. And so we can see in the area formulating and implementing guidelines and policies, managing and allocating resources, managing staff, and applying systems thinking to the OEH context. There's certainly room for improvement in terms of our ability to provide content in that area. Under leadership, all 3 leadership competencies, our students graduating from the program less than half of them felt that they were equipped or well equipped in that area. I highlight this for two reasons. In mostly because I presented this in a variety of forums, for faculty, to students, to alumni, but to really motivate that the division itself, has taken what we've heard here very seriously, as well as what we've heard from other stakeholders, whether they've been faculty internally or external, the external engagement. And so what you'll see over the next couple of next 15 or 20 minutes is how we've responded, or how we are responding and addressing what we've learned here. But before I kind of go to the specifics, I just want to take a moment to step back and sort of situate this in sort of the broader strategic process. And so I want to remind us that, there's more, but I've said enough about those. This is the occupational environmental hygiene or health vision and mission that we developed, or was developed, when it was first formed. So somewhere in the neighborhood of 30 years ago. And in the process of this renewal process, we did look at this vision and this mission, had a discussion about whether we needed to update it. But at the end of the day, we decided that we were comfortable with the vision and the mission. And so I'll just give us a moment to sort of remind us of what our vision as a vision in terms of teaching, as well as research is. So that's a vision, a world in which risk from occupational environmental hazards are minimized by the recognition, evaluation, and control, benefit of workplace and community health and well-being. And then from that, our mission as a group of researchers, teachers, and learners and practitioners would be to assist society in minimizing such risks by providing an outstanding education to students and professionals, by generating new knowledge through research, and by effectively communicating. Now, maybe at a future date, we revise vision and mission statements. But as a division and as a faculty, we felt that they really still served as a foundational way of grounding us in terms of how we should go forward. And so from what we've learned, from centering ourselves not only in this vision and mission, but also the broader vision of the school and the university, we've identified a number of strategic priorities. I'm not going to go into these in any great detail, because that's really not the point of today's seminar. It's about to get to what we're doing next, but just to say that we've developed a number of strategic priorities in the area of people and places, transformative learning, and engagement, partnerships, and impact. And so basically all of the actions that you're going to be seeing over the next couple of years are going to map back to one or more of these sort of broad strategic groupings. I'm going to turn now my attention to talking about our specific goals. So mapping back. So these are the goals that we really want to think about developing concrete action. And so with respect to people and places, that's the focus on faculty renewal and retention, and to invest in the OEH laboratory. And we have plans in both areas, both in faculty renewal and retention, as well as the laboratory investments. And today we're going to talk to you about what we're doing with respect to the OEH laboratory, working with the school itself, as well as opportunities in the university. We may be able to come back and share some news around faculty renewal and retention, depending on how those initiatives go. But today the focus there is really going to be on the OEH laboratory. Under transformative learning, maximizing the capacity of our teaching environment, expanding learning opportunities, the scope and number of courses, as well as the numbers of students that we teach. And you'll see in a few short slides that when we go back to what we learned from our consultation, that we are moving forward on those, both in terms of expanding our teaching opportunities, but also the breadth of some of the teaching that we will be doing. And finally, engagement, partnerships, and impact, which is to expand our internal and external engagement, strengthen our partnerships, and maximize the impact of our work. I don't have to talk too much about that in today's seminar, but I will say that how we are moving forward in terms of expanding what we're doing in the area of teaching and learning is going to require greater input and close contact with many of our partners and stakeholders. And so we will see action on that as we move forward. So what is the division doing now? So we're doing three things, and we have been working on these in 2022, and now we're really in a stage where we're beginning to implement these in meaningful ways. So one of those things is the renovation and renewal of the teaching lab, and Mcleod, who is also the head of our lab, will be talking about our plans shortly. The other thing that we've been doing, led by our program director, Karen Bartlett, is a curriculum review and the expansion of the MSC OEH degree, and Karen will be sharing a couple of those key developments in a few minutes as well. And then finally, at least for today's purposes, we'll be talking about the development and launch of an OEH professional development certificate program that's been led by Hugh Davies, another one of our original colleagues, and myself. And this will be essentially the first time we talk about this initiative publicly. And I'm really excited to share that with you. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Mika and ask you to sort of share what we're doing with the Research and Teaching Laboratory.
Thanks very much, Chris. So as Chris mentioned, one of the roles that I have at the school is also as the chair of the OEH Laboratory Committee, which provides high-level guidance on the laboratory as a research and teaching facility here at UBC. And it has been a hub of excellence for 30 years. In terms of research by our faculty, staff, and students, in terms of assessing exposures in occupational and environmental communities and their links to health, but also a hub of excellence in terms of a teaching and learning environment for our OEH program and our trainees in that program. But it is 30 years old. And if you've been in that space, it is, as part of our strategic plan, our desire to renew and refresh and transform that space. As noted here on the slide, central to that renovation is that it remains an integrated hub of research and teaching. That's very integrated when you are learning these methods, that they're based on science, research, best practices, that it's a highly integrated environment where you're interacting, you're able to apply what faculty have learned through research and to utilize equipment applied, have that skill. So we have that as an underlying foundation, that it remains an integrated space for learning highly advanced methods in exposure assessment. Next slide, please, Chris. So to that end, super excited. So we identified the need as part of strategic renewal for updating that environment. There is an opportunity through UBC to improve the learning environments, and we were successful with a proposal this year for a $1 million renovation of the learning space in the lab. Super excited because highly competitive opportunity at UBC. I think this is the first time in 15 years that an academic unit in the Faculty of Medicine has won one of these grants. So I think it resonates currently. The work that we're doing in the context of the pandemic has illuminated the importance of the training that happens in that space, and was part of getting a successful proposal to renew that learning environment. This funding is focused on the learning environment. So it's going to focus on making the environment in that lab space on the third floor a better learning space. So it's going to focus a little bit on the physical environment, making sure been in there, it's kind of noisy, not so conducive to a learning environment. Health and safety practices have changed over 30 years, and we need to bring that space up to current standards in terms of health and safety. So it is focused on transforming that space to a better learning environment, and not just for lab-based courses, but it will be a conducive environment for teaching generally in occupational and environmental health, not just lab-based, but for our alumni to come back, both on-site and virtual or hybrid kind of learning environment. So updating the audiovisual for that kind of dynamic learning environment, modular workstations, conducive for lab-based work or other more traditional kinds of teaching. Last slide, Chris, in this regard. Just if you are familiar at all with this space on the third floor, this is the planning document for the OEH laboratory, which is in the center of our third floor space. The olive green kind of highlighted with some red is the area that is going to be renovated to make it a more conducive learning environment. Illustrating here that those are modular learning stations, better storage, better flooring, isolation of high-risk activities from the learning environment, those kinds of things. I want to reassure everybody the planning stage is underway, but it's a highly consultative process. We have a representative on the planning committee. The lab committee is going to consult monthly with faculty about what's going to happen in that space and with students. There will be disruption in the summer of 2023, which is a low teaching time for most of our students. So that is when the renovation is designed to take place. My last note here is if there's anybody in the audience, virtual or otherwise, who is looking for an opportunity to partner with us and to engage with us on this transformation of the training program and the learning environment for the next generation of professionals in the hygiene, both research and professional field and research. You're looking for that opportunity to engage with us and move this forward, we'd be happy to have that conversation with you. Happy to match the funding from UBC to move this even further forward is what I'm actually saying. So please reach out to Chris or I if you want an opportunity to talk about partnering or engaging with us to transform this 30-year history of excellence in occupational and environmental hygiene training. That's it from me, Chris, on the OEH laboratory and its strategic direction.
Does that come with naming rights?
That there is a policy at UBC about naming rights, so it depends how much you want to engage and partner with us. But yes, we do have the opportunity to name the lab should we choose. There is a process for doing that. Yep. It could be the Karen Bartlett, for example, Occupational Environmental Health Laboratory, Karen.
That's, I mean, it's really, as Mika said, it is super excited. And, you know, I have to say that it's been a while where us as faculty are like using terms like super excited when it comes to and it's wonderful. I mean, we have a plan. There's a process. It's moving forward. It's concrete. But as Mika said, there is opportunity for partnership here, for leveraging, for acceleration, and that is something that we will be engaging the broader community on as we go forward. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to Karen, who will be talking about some of the MSC OEH curriculum.
All right. So to put it in context, 30 years is a long time, and we have been extraordinarily successful over the last 30 years that our students, our graduates have ended up in incredibly wonderful positions and will continue to do so. When we planned the program 30 years ago, it was very much tied in with sister programs at, for example, University of Washington, with the NIOSH education centers, and we are also working with the core competencies with the American Industrial Hygiene Association. So this is important to know that when you graduate with an MSC OEH, you are entering the field with the competencies that employers want you to have. This is incredibly important. Now, over the last 30 years, though, what's been very interesting moving forward is that nearly all of our graduates who have gone into career positions have risen through the ranks and have become leaders in their fields, have become managers in their field. And as the world has moved forward, in fact, employers are wanting to see that as well in our graduates. And in fact, I have the great good fortune that I'm often give references for people for their first job. I love doing it. Any of the faculty do. I particularly love doing it. And that's one of the questions that recruiters also ask is, okay, what is their competencies, or, and what's their leadership ability? I'm going, you know what? That's the one thing that we don't cover really, really well, or had not until the present time covered really well. It showed up in the alumni survey. You just saw that Chris showed. And we are now renewal going forward, and we have created a course in leadership. And that leadership course is going to be specific. It actually has two arms to it. One was developed for the MPH program, and one is specific for the OEH program. So it is, the first launch is September of this year, 2023. And January? That's what I meant to say. January. January 2023. And the person, Sean Tucker, who is going to be instructing it, he's coming from a leadership organizational background with an interest in occupational health research that he's done himself. So we were in that point in time that we had the perfect person and the perfect need. And it was just this wonderful mesh between the two. So we are also going to be looking at other forms of very specific curriculum that we can be offering. Some of that will be offered through the professional development course that you will all be taking. And that is also always being renewed with when we find opportunities, people in the field, specific issues that we want to be able to address, we have a way of doing that. And so that is our plan for going forward in keeping abreast of the field. And it is, I'm going to also use the word super exciting, that, we're not, our canoe has not lost its paddle somewhere 30 years ago. We are absolutely moving forward and keeping up with the field. And we are so excited that you're going to be part of that.
All right. Thank you, Karen. And I'll just note that just for students in the room and online, if you're somewhat targeted towards second year courses, if you haven't registered in the second year students, if you haven't registered for the course, I encourage you to do so. And if you have questions, you either can come talk to Karen, or you can reach out to Sean. It's going to be a very exciting course just to sort of finish off, highlight a few. These are certainly not all of the topics that will be covered. Some of the topics that will be covered, ranging from approaches to leadership, equity, diversity, inclusion in leadership, negotiation skills, stakeholder and labor relations, health and safety leadership, organizational safety culture, and professional ethics, among others. And so, delighted that we've identified Sean, Dr. Tucker, who has expertise in not only leadership and management, but also occupational health and safety, who will be joining our faculty as an affiliate faculty and moving this important project forward. We're not done. We're moving on to, that's somewhat focused on the learners who are currently in our MSC OEH program and those who will be entering the program. The upgrade of the lab, the renewing of the MSC OEH program. But we've also spent a fair bit of time thinking about what can we do for our alumni? What can we do for the broader community of occupational environmental health professionals? That's something that many of the stakeholders that we engaged with identified clear needs and clear opportunities in terms of people working in the industry, a variety of industries, but there's that need for reskilling or upskilling, addressing some of those competency gaps that we refer to. So in partnership or in co-leadership, myself and Dr. Hugh Davies, we are moving forward on developing what we're calling a micro-certificate course. Now, just by a little bit of background, micro-certificate courses are new, but they are an area that UBC has in the last number of years moved forward, in part with this understanding that we really need to think about how we continue to provide ongoing professional education to people who are in the workplace, who don't necessarily have the capacity to come and spend time, registered in school, take time out of work. So these are very much focused on adult learners who are working professionals who need either upskilling or reskilling. And so where we're at with this is we've been working with UBC Extended Education, and we submitted a competitive continuing learning and engagement fund application to develop a couple of micro courses with the idea that at the end of the day that we'll be able to actually expand that to a full micro certificate in the area of occupational and environmental health. We're calling this Managing Occupational Health in a New Work World. What these are short, flexible micro courses with deeper knowledge and skill sets for a wide range of OEH issues. And they can nimbly reflect our changing society. So we are responding to what those current sort of training or informational needs are with these short courses. And the goal is to address critical existing and emerging issues that OEH professionals must manage and resolve. Target learners are OEH professionals, so these aren't necessarily targeted for individuals who don't yet have any background in OEH, who are looking for upskilling and reskilling. So our ideal sort of learner here would be our alumni, but it's not just restricted to our alumni. It certainly would be many of the other OEH professionals out there that have different experience or different or complementary potential. We are also looking at how these would be relevant to other professionals or professionals that are in adjacent roles who might also need OEH training, such as, say, those working in management and human resources. What does this look like? So we receive funding, so direct funding, but also significant in-kind support from UBC's Continuing Learning Enhancement Fund to develop 2 courses to launch in fall 2023. These courses are short, focused, but content rich, and they will comprise approximately 30 hours of online synchronous and asynchronous learning. Future vision is development of a full suite of courses that can be combined towards an OEH professional development micro certificate, approximately 150 contact hours. So what do these look like? Potential and proposed and potential courses at this point in time. We actually had to sort of tell in order to get money, we had to say this is what we were going to do. And so this is what we said we were going to do. But I will hasten to add, and you'll see on the next slide, that again, this is really meant to be very consultative in terms of what we ultimately end up implementing. The two courses that at the moment we're focusing on will be Principles of OEH Leadership, as well as OEH Challenges in the New World. Again, these two courses will respond and address some of the competency gaps that we identified earlier on in our renewal program. Some of the more ongoing or future-looking courses that we see ourselves developing in 2023 and 2024 for delivery in subsequent years could be in the area of effective management of OEH in the workplace, building equitable and OEH inclusive culture and practices, as well as a course that we are calling Emerging OHS Hazards, which could actually serve as a vehicle where we end up actually developing multiple modules regarding specific hazards, whether that's related to nanomaterials, mental health, or other types of emerging issues in the workplace. So we have a timeline. One of the things that I think is a fundamental principle of this micro-credential course development is that it is meant to be guided by a stakeholder advisory committee, which will comprise of industry partners, OHS and compensation regulators, alumni, and current students. And we will be strike that committee in short order, as well as then with input from that committee, finalizing the scope of the initial courses. Over the next 6 months following that, there will be syllabus and course content development. We will develop our industry and learner engagement strategy, refining and beta testing of the courses over the summer and into early fall, with marketing and enrollment also taking place with a course launch in October. Also super exciting, but I'm also looking at this realizing that this is pretty ambitious, but it is what we've been funded for. It is what we're about to do. I will also just say that the interactions that I've had with extended learning has introduced me to a whole different set of online teaching tools that are multimedia, interactive, and I would say incredibly cool. They have the expertise in the tech and the technology to help develop that for us. And so this is not only going to benefit these courses, but we're going to learn a whole bunch of really cool pedagogical and teaching approaches that can be implemented in a way effectively online that I think will spread in a positive way throughout our other courses. And so it's a really exciting opportunity as a teacher, as a professional, to actually get access to a whole bunch of tools that I think will improve our ability to teach overall. So that's where we're at. We've got some substantive initiatives, but we were looking for engagement and development. So this isn't something that the OEH faculty and staff are just doing on our own. We want input from students, we want input from alumni, and we want input from employers and other stakeholders. So there will be processes to engage all of you on that. And as Mika said, we're also looking for development opportunities. Now that we have a strategic plan, now that we have a direction, we are going to be looking at ways that we can grow this and grow this further. And some of that is going to be about how we can actually engage our broader community in identifying resources. And so that will also be something that will be seen from the division. So that is what we're doing. Now, I'm happy to open it up to everyone here for questions and comments. So over to you, Colleen and Angela and George.